welcome to AuditionPerform's webinar with Robert DeMaine, the principal cello of the Los Angeles Philharmonic and cello tutor at AuditionPerform this summer. Now, Bob is going to be working with all the cellists on AuditionPerform for a week, honing their skills for their auditions, their competitions, these high pressure situations where you can frankly get your knickers in a twist. And tell us, Bob, do you get your knickers in a twist in these kind of situations?
I definitely get my knickers in a twist all the time. So it's probably a good default setting to have, because when you're on your toes, you tend to do much better.
So what do you do in preparation for an audition, Bob? When there's something you decide to go for, what's the first thing that happens?
Well, you know, the first thing obviously is to get a hold of the list and get invited to the audition and all of that. I get a hold of all of the music that I need, and I go through it with a fine-tooth comb and make sure that everything is immaculately technically prepared, I mean, to the absolute best of my ability in that stage of preparation. And if ideally, I do this over several months. It's not something where, well, I can put this off until, you know, the 11th hour and I can get it done just before the audition because, well, I'm good enough. It's different to do an audition, to be audition ready versus being just in good shape. It's like getting yourself into Olympian condition to win an audition.
Now, Bob, you often sit on audition panels. I'm sure you sat on many of them in your life. We want to know, what are you looking for? This is, of course, the $64,000 question, $64 million these days. But really, after days and days of listening to endless cello auditions, what makes you sit up and listen and get you out of that coma?
I would venture to say what we are listening for. Now, every committee is a little bit different, but we're listening for the artist. We're listening for somebody who doesn't necessarily play everything perfectly. So you need not worry if you bobble a phrase or bobble a note. If the general impression is very good artistically, then that really wakes us up out of our coma, because it does get to be a little bit like, oh, this person is trying to sound like a machine. This person is trying to second guess what we want to hear. You can hear it in people's playing. And I think if you're true to yourself and honest to your own artistic integrity, you have to be the one taking the audition. And you can't just be trying to please the committee or please the music director. So you have to go out there and be yourself. So we're listening for you, the artist, at number one. That wakes us up. Of course, within the context of being immaculately prepared, that goes without saying. So,
and then when a lucky person gets in an American situation, of course, they win the job, don't they? But that doesn't actually mean the job is theirs yet, does it? Can you explain to us how that works in America?
Winning the job at the audition is sort of the beginning of the audition process. It's like the real audition begins when you sit in your seat, the probationary period, which can last, from 6 months up until some orchestras, it's 2 to 3 years for a probationary period. So the first phase of winning a job obviously is doing very well at the audition, making that great first impression. And then in order to maintain that great impression, you have to show how you're willing to be a team player, how you play well with others, how you lead if you need to. There's so many things that we're just waiting to see when you occupy your chair in the orchestra, whether it's in a principal position or in the section. So that is very important. The probation period is really where the audition begins. So it's a multi-tiered process.
For those different positions, quite many different skills are needed, aren't they? I mean, obviously you're a principal, so next to you will be your number two. Now, just a quick question. Who would the ideal number two be for you? Would it be somebody who's, ready to step in at a moment's notice, or somebody that buys you a cup of tea? What do you personally look for in a number two?
I look for somebody who is a phenomenal player, somebody that I'm intimidated by, and somebody I get along with great, and somebody I can goof off with all the time too. So actually, I have all of those in LA. my stand partner Ben Hong, the associate, is a phenomenal guy and a phenomenal cellist. So we have a very good first stand. I want to have the strongest stand in the orchestra. That's what I'm looking for. So if I get the flu, Ben can step in and play the big solo from the Brahms Second Piano Concerto, or or even the third player, the third chair.
When we have the tutti players in the section, what do you as a principal want? And of course, this may be slightly different maybe from what other tutti players want, but you as a principal, when you appoint somebody in your section, what are you looking for?
I'm looking for somebody who's a brilliant player, who's flexible, and who's very nice. Those three criteria, I think, are very important. And those who are team players, those who get along well with others, those who aren't trying to sort of hog the limelight. I mean, I do that on the first stand. I try to blend when I need to, and I try to lead when I need to. It's not always about me leading the section. Sometimes I have to blend into the woodwork, if you will, or the texture. So I am definitely looking for somebody who is a brilliant solo player, but also a brilliant chamber musician and ensemble player. And that shows me they're sensitive and flexible, and they're able to sort of hover in that area whenever they need, whatever context they need to be in.
And as a principal cellist, of course, you will also be instrumental, forgive the pun, in appointing all the other, particularly string principals, I imagine.
We definitely have an important say. We recently had a principal viola audition that I was sick for the audition, so I couldn't attend, but all the other string principals were there. So it's a very crucial part of putting the team together, is having the principals there.
There are social requirements there, right? Somebody, like you say, somebody you can work with. This communication that you get at the front is key, is it not?
It definitely is, but as I said before, winning the first stage of the audition, the audition itself, that's great, fantastic, hats off. But buckle up, because the audition is about to begin.
Can I ask you, Bob, how you feel about screened auditions? Now, screened auditions haven't been the way over here in the UK until quite recently, and now lots of orchestras are doing them, but a lot of us feel terribly nervous about them because it's not the way we've done it historically. Have you always done screened auditions since you've been in business?
I myself have, but in the final rounds, or as they're calling them these days, the super final round, because there are two stages to the finals. I don't know when this new terminology, this nomenclature started with oh, did you make the finals? Yes, I made the finals. Then I made the super finals. It's all but anyway, so yeah, the screens have always made me antsy, and they make a lot of people squirrely in auditions, but they do in great measure ensure that the audition is going to be fair, at least until the super final round, where the screen normally comes down and everybody can see you. However, I think one of the sources of anxiety when the screen is up is that it doesn't feel like a performance, and I have to pretend with all my might that it is a performance and not a tryout, not an audition. So I feel you. I definitely can commiserate with people who feel anxious in front of the screen, but there are ways to cope with it, and the more you do it, the better you get at it. And I mean, I hope that nobody out there watching this has to take 35 auditions before they win a job, but sometimes you do. That's just how it goes. There's a lot of luck that goes into auditions too. So may I just share one thing about my wife, who's a horn player? She took something like 40 auditions before she won a job. 40 auditions, because if you look at it, there aren't so many horn openings as there are perhaps cello or violin openings in symphony orchestras. And but what she learned throughout that entire process is that she was able to improve her audition chops, not just her performing chops, but it's like a muscle that she worked out over and over and over. And she got to be fearless in that process. So, you know, if you stumble and fall in an audition or you don't advance, some of it is luck, some of it is perhaps, you know, you could have prepared better, but oftentimes you just need to get better at taking auditions. It's like taking exams, same thing. And for me, when I learned to perform in front of the screen instead of audition in front of the screen, if that makes any sense, if I treated it like a mini recital, that's when I started having a lot of success, when it felt like a performance and not like being on trial.
Yeah, I'm one of the lucky few who got away with never doing a screened audition myself, although I have sat on panels for them. But I always imagined, I would imagine there was no one there. I would imagine there's nobody on the other side of the wall. I'm in my bedroom having a nice time. I thought, you know, I thought maybe that'd be the way forward, but it sounds like, and it sounds like you've had quite a lot of success, Bob. So I'm thinking maybe, yes, imagining that, you know, the happy, friendly concert hall full might have more of a sense of occasion, I suppose, than just pretending you're practicing on your own.
Definitely. Like when I walked in for the very first time that I played in Walt Disney Concert Hall in LA, I had, you know, heard about the organ in the hall, which is a spectacular instrument. And I looked up and I see this behemoth order of French fries. That's what it looks like on the wall. And I laughed to myself, and it took a little bit of the heat off. Like, that's one of my little coping skills. Is like I'll look around and find something humorous, and I'll laugh about it, and that kind of loosens me up a bit. So these things gradually happen over time. At least for me, I'm speaking completely autobiographically. So the more you take auditions, the better you get, and also the more you play for other people, the better you get.
Well, we really hope that everyone coming this summer who's going to be learning with you, Bob, is going to have that incredibly intensive experience where they audition again and again and again and again until they get it right, all in 1 week. It's like microwaving your audition practice, isn't it?
I hope, again, let me just say again, I hope you all don't have to take 35, 40 auditions to get to where you want to be. And luck may be on your side. Oftentimes winning an audition, it has nothing to do with how well you play or how well you just played. Sometimes some people just like somebody a little bit more than you, and if you make the finals, you're basically all qualified to do the job. Let's face it. And going back to my original point, is staying true to yourself. That's super, super important. And you cannot play like, oh, this orchestra tends to play things sort of inside the box. Well, don't let your playing reflect that. Still be yourself, always. I mean, I think that's very important to note. It seems so simple, but it really is the basis of your artistry.